And on vertical. Okay. Hello, YouTube. Hi. We are finally back to read more of the book and more of The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne. And I would like to I know I wrote community posts, but just apologize again. Schedule did get messed up. Tech was getting messed up. It was a whole kablooey. But I am very, very glad to be here and picking up with our book again. We only have 3 chapters left, I think, so we'll see if we can finish tonight. The only reason we're not finishing tonight is if my spine is hurting too much, but we're gonna do what we can, okay? But for the past while, we've only been reading like 2 or even 1 per stream. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Now, I'm just getting the chats all set up on OBS, and when I do that, just a little reminder to my loverly Twitch viewers that if you are able to watch over on YouTube, and I want to state for the record, I'm certainly not telling you to leave Twitch, but just if you are able to watch from YouTube, that really, really helps. Right now, we are working towards unlocking the full partner program over there. Now, this channel, we did unlock the first level of the YouTube partner program, so we have emotes and memberships and things like that. We have not unlocked the second tier, which is where ad revenue kicks in, and they are raising the requirements in February, so we are working towards getting it. And I actually did update this. This is where we are at. This was just before stream started. I updated this, so it's gone up a little bit since last time. We're actually making really good progress on those watch hours. But a little reminder, if you have been enjoying this content, or if you're like a Twitch viewer but you just want to support me, if you're able to drop a sub over on YouTube, it enormously helps. So yeah, there's that spiel. I'm deeply uncomfortable with spieling, but apparently it's something I need to get better at. Hi, Allie. Hello, it's good to see you. How you doing? And Lemon Slut and Fidge and Zen, thank you for watching on YouTube. Oh my god, DJ, thank you for the super chat. Oh my god, you're in timeout, so you can't give. What do you mean you're in timeout? What do you mean? Oh wait, like your whole account on Twitch? Holy moly, DJ, thank you for the $5 super chat. That's incredible. Thank you so much. Spaceship, hi Som, thank you for watching on YouTube. I don't know why I said it like that. If you greeted Lemon the way you wanted to just now, YouTube would probably blast you into oblivion. Yeah. On Poppy YouTube, it's Lemon. On Twitch, it's the other half of the name. Oh man, hi Bobby, how you doing? Welcome back. If you go watch on YouTube, will I say your name like that? What, with appreciation and gratitude? I don't know, it's a stretch, but it might happen. I'm sorry. Both your accounts are on suspension over a bot report that you were broadcasting music with no human interaction. Oh my god. Full global lockout, same level as a hate speech violation for no one. Oh my god, DJ, that's so frustrating. Do you know how long it's for? Buddha, thanks for watching from YouTube. Thank you. You were looking at the lunar. Wait, is there a lunar eclipse? How come I didn't hear about this? Oh my god, Psalm. Yeah, I feel like that would not be as understood there. Yeah. There is? Oh, what the hell? The moon was gorgeous, like for the past few nights. Because I wasn't watching your stream. I'm sorry. I was out doing errands and trying to like get groceries and set back up my everything. It's at peak coverage right now. Would I be able to see it from where I live? Tsunami, man. Oh my goodness. Lurking. Oh, that's totally okay. Tsunami, man. Thank you so much for the resub. 11 months now. Absolutely feel free to keep lurking if you are still around when we're done the reading portion and we're back to doing triggers and you decide you'd like a name trace. Please let me know and I would love to do one. It peaked about 9 minutes ago. You're watching live. Should I like go out on my deck and see if I can see it? Like, should I try? Marky, thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you. Yeah? Real gamers don't look up? Well, I can only see it from my window in here. Let me check the window. Let me just check the window. Hold on. I don't think that we can, I don't even see stars. I think we have too much cloud coverage right now. Right, Cloud? Too much coverage. It's really cloudy. Yeah. It usually is. It usually is. Okay. Okay. Thanks, bitch. You cut your hand? Oh no. Cryptic. From Legos? Oh no. Be careful with that ages 3 and up toy. Sorry. Oh no. That's what it was, a 12 and up. Oh my goodness. My sincere apologies. Okay. Oh, it has electronics in it? Damn. You should post some pictures of it. That sounds cool. Alright, okay. We are going to be getting back into our reading. Just move Cloud out of the way. Yeah, all I can see is her glorious rump. Okay. So, I think we're picking up. Okay, last time we read chapter licks. Right? It was chapter licks, wasn't it? Yeah. So now we're at chapter looks. So still licking, but just a little less drawn out. I'm sorry. Okay. We're at chapter 60. Yeah, we're almost done though. Now, if you remember, you know, ages ago when we left this off, City, come back, I'm sorry, I'll behave, I'm sorry. Nemo's gone, okay? And decided to just be a selfish dick on the way out. Anonymous. Anonymous, thank you for the gift sub to Book Liquor. Don't lick your books. I know it has glue in it, but there's better ways to get your glue that doesn't ruin the books. Yeah, so they find Nemo. They find out he's their benefactor. A couple of them have heard of him, actually. And then he's like, I'm about to die. And they're like, no, we'll save you. And he's like, no, you won't. And then he's like, by the way, here's a huge bag of diamonds and a huge bag of pearls. But everything else, all the... I'm still not over this, you guys. I'm not over this. all the historical treasures that he had scavenged from the ocean, from shipwrecks, centuries gone by, from the literal lost city of Atlantis, which does exist in this book, and he literally went there. I mean, this man has like a museum, and he's like, yeah, sink it all with me. When I die, lock up the Nautilus, but then open these little vents so the water comes in and just send us down to the bottom. Gentle Tap, thank you for that 55 stream streak. And I'm still upset with him. Because what do you mean? I mean, he does firmly establish that he hates humans. He hates mankind. So it does kind of fit his character that he doesn't want to share anything. But no one pushed back again. I don't know. Anyways, whatever. I need to let that go. Oh, it's so good to have the seagulls back. I really missed the sound of seagulls when I was out of town. Oh my god, Buddha, it's the chair. The fucking chair. Shut up. You can't say bit and tease as one combined. You can't say biddies? Like, you can't type it? What do you mean? Really? You can't type biddies in chat? That's crazy. No, we don't. Fire tech? That's over at Floral Embers, okay? Not here. Not here. Okay. Alright. So let's get going. Thank you to the wonderful 7 of you that are watching on YouTube. You're my favorites. You're my absolute favorites. Tickle Bibbies, yeah. Really, Team Plus, yeah. She's over there with no panties. Yeah, Painted Spaceship. You're one of my top faves. Hi, Beowix. Hello. Mr. Firewolfy, you are. You are. Thank you. Thank you for watching over there. Okay. We are starting. Buddha, why are you causing drama? Okay. Yeah, take him out, Psalm. I support you. Okay, chapter 60. Oh yeah, also the volcano is like exploding. That too. That's also happening. Okay. Chapter 60. In the early morning, the colonists reached the entrance of the cavern, which they called Crypt Dakar, in remembrance of Captain Nemo. The tide was low, and they easily passed under the archway, whose piers were washed by the waves. The iron boat could remain in this place without danger from the sea, but as additional precaution, they drew it up on a little beach on one side of the crypt. The storm had ceased during the night. The last mutterings of the thunder were dying away in the west. It was not raining, although the sky was still clouded. In short, this month of October, the beginning of the southern spring, did not come in good fashion, and the wind had a tendency to shift from one point of the compass to another, so that it was impossible to say what the weather would be. Smith and his companions, on leaving Crypt Dakar, went towards the corral. On the way, Neb and Herbert took care to take up the wire which had been stretched by Captain Nemo, as it might be useful in the future. While walking, the colonists spoke but little. The incidents of this night had made a vivid impression upon them. This unknown, whose influence had protected them so well. This man whom they imagined a genie. Captain Nemo. was no more. His Nautilus and himself were buried in the depths of the abyss. It seemed to each one of them that they were more isolated than before. They were, so to speak, accustomed to count upon this powerful intervention which today was wanting, and Spilett, and even Smith, did not escape this feeling. So, without speaking, they followed the road to the corral. Station. Hi, Leia. Welcome in. Hi, Richard. By 9 o'clock, the colonists were in Granite House again. It had been agreed that the construction of the ship should be pushed forward as rapidly as possible, and Smith gave the work more of his time and care than ever before. They did not know what the future might bring forth, and it would be a guarantee of safety for them to have a strong vessel, able to stand rough weather, and large enough to carry them, if need be, a long distance. If, when it was finished, the colonists decided not to leave the island, they could at least make the voyage to Tabor Island and leave a notice there. This was an indispensable precaution in case the Scotch yacht returned to these seas, and it must on no account be neglected. Quantum, thanks for watching on YouTube. The work was undertaken at once. All worked at it without ceasing, except to prosecute other necessary work. It was important to have the new ship finished in 5 months if they wished to make the voyage to Tabor Island before the equinoctial storms would render it impracticable. All the sails of the Speedy had been saved so that they need not trouble themselves about making rigging. The year ended in the midst of this work. At the end of 2 months and a half, the ribs had been put in place, and the planking began, so that they were able to see that Smith's plans were excellent. Pencroff worked with ardor, and always grumbled when any of the others left off work to go hunting. It was, nevertheless, necessary to lay in a stock of provisions for the approaching winter, but that made no difference. The honest sailor was unhappy unless everyone was at work in the shipyard. At these times he grumbled, and did. He was so put out, the work of 6 men. Oh, this summer season was bad. The heat was overpowering, and the atmosphere, charged with electricity, discharged itself in violent storms. It was seldom that the distant muttering of the thunder was unheard. It was like a dull but permanent murmur, such as is produced in the equatorial regions of the globe. On the 1st of January, 1869, a terrific storm burst over the island, and the lightning struck in many places. Tall trees were shattered, and among them was one of the enormous micocouliers which shaded the poultry yard. Had this meteoric storm any relation to the phenomena which were occurring in the bowels of the earth? Was there a sort of connection between the disturbances in the air and those in the interior of the globe? Smith believed it to be so, since the development of these storms was marked by a recrudescence of the volcanic symptoms. On the 3rd of January, Herbert, who had gone at daybreak to Prospect Plateau to saddle one of the onagers, saw an immense black cloud rolling out from the summit of the volcano. Herbert hastened to inform the others, who came at once to look at the mountain. "Ah," said Pencroff, "it's not vapor this time. It seems to me that the giant is not content to breathe. He must smoke." The image employed by the sailor expressed with exactness the change which had taken place at the mouth of the volcano. For 3 months, the crater had been emitting vapors, more or less intense, but there had been no ebullition of mineral matters. This time, instead of vapors, a thick column of smoke rose, like an immense mushroom, above the summit of the mountain. "The chimney's on fire," said Spilett, "and we cannot put it out," answered Herbert. "It would be well to sweep the volcanoes," said Neb, in good earnest. "All right, Neb," said Pencroff, laughing. "Will you undertake the job?" Smith looked attentively at the thick smoke, and at the same time he listened as if he expected to detect some distant rumbling. Then, turning towards his companions, who were at some little distance, he said, "In truth, my friends, it cannot be denied that an important change has taken place. The volcanic matters are not only in a state of ebullition, they've taken fire, and, without doubt, we are threatened with an eruption." "Very well, sir. We will witness this eruption," cried Pencroff, "and we will applaud it if it is a success. I don't think that anything over there need worry us." "No, Pencroff," answered Smith, "for the old course of the lava is open, and, thanks to its position, the crater has heretofore discharged towards the north. Nevertheless, since there is nothing to be gained by an eruption, it would be better not to have it," said the reporter. "Well, who knows?" replied the sailor. "There may be some useful and precious matter in the volcano, which it will be good enough to throw up, which will be advantageous for us." Smith shook his head, as a man who anticipated nothing good from this phenomenon. He did not think so lightly of the consequences of an eruption. If the lava, on account of the position of the crater, did not menace the wooded and cultivated portions of the island, other complications might arise. Eruptions are often accompanied by earthquakes, and an island formed, like Lincoln Island, of such different materials, basalt on one side, granite on another, lavas to the north, a mixed soil inland, material which, therefore, could not be solidly bound together, ran the risk of being torn asunder. If, therefore, the outpouring of volcanic substances did not threaten serious results, any movement in the framework upholding the island might be followed by the gravest consequences. Chompy, thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you. Oh, you made a new account. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hi, Nananan. Oh, nice. And Mushroom. Hello. Okay. "Oh, it seems to me," said Ayrton, who was kneeling down with his ear to the ground, "it seems to me that I hear a noise, like the rattling of a wagon, loaded with iron bars." The colonists listened carefully, and were convinced that Ayrton was not mistaken. With the rumbling mingled a subterranean roaring, making a sort of rimforzando, which died away slowly, as if from some violent cleavage in the interior of the globe. Violent cleavage is definitely a bitch litter single. Okay. But no detonation was heard, and it was fair to conclude that the smoke and vapor found a free passage through the central chimney, and, if the escape pipe was sufficiently large, no explosion need be feared. "Come," said Pencroff at length, "shall we not go back to work? Let Mount Franklin smoke, brawl, moan, and vomit fire and flames as much as it chooses. But that is no excuse for us to quit work. Come, Ayrton, Neb, all of you. We want all hands today. I want our new good luck. We will keep the name, will we not? To be moored in Balloon Harbor before 2 months are past, so there's not an hour to be lost. All the colonists went down to the shipyard and worked steadily all day without giving too much thought to the volcano, which could not be seen from the beach before Granite House. But once or twice, heavy shadows obscured the sunlight, and as the day was perfectly clear, it was evident that thick clouds of smoke were passing between the sun's disk and the island. TJ, thank you for that super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. And hi, Northman. Welcome back. How are you doing? Smith and Spilett noticed these somber voyagers and talked of the progress that the volcanic phenomenon was making, but they did not cease work. It was, moreover, of great importance in every sense that the ship should be finished with as little delay as possible. In the presence of events which might happen, the security of the colonists would be better assured. Who could say but that this ship might not, some day, be their sole refuge? That evening, after supper, Smith, Spilett, and Herbert climbed the plateau. It was already dark, and they would be able to distinguish whether flames or incandescent matter was mingled with the smoke and vapor of the volcano. "The crater's on fire!" cried Herbert, who, more active than his companions, had reached the plateau first. Mount Franklin, 6 miles distant, appeared like a gigantic torch, with fuliginous flames twisting about its summit. So much smoke, such quantities of scoriae, and cinders, perhaps, were mingled with the flames, but their light did not glare upon the shades of night. Were mingled with the flames, that their light did not glare upon the shades of night, but a sort of dull yellow glow spread over the island, making dimly visible the higher masses of forest. Enormous clouds obscured the heavens, between which glittered a few stars. "The progress is rapid," said the engineer. "Well, it's not astonishing," answered the reporter. "The volcano has been awake for some time already. You remember, Cyrus, that the first vapors appeared around the time we were searching the mountain for the retreat of Captain Nemo. Well, that was, if I'm not mistaken, about the 15th of October. "Yes," replied Herbert, 2 months and a half ago. "Well, the subterranean fires have been brooding for 10 weeks, continued Spilett, and it is not astonishing that they develop now with this violence." "Do you not feel certain vibrations in the ground?" asked Spilett. "No," asked Smith. "I think so," replied Spilett, "but an earthquake—" "I did not say that we were menaced by an earthquake," said Smith, "and heaven preserve us from one. No, these vibrations are due to the effervescence of the central fire. The crust of the earth is nothing more than the covering of a boiler, and you know how the covering of a boiler, under pressure, vibrates like a sonorous plate. That is what is happening at this moment." "What magnificent flames!" cried Herbert, as a sheaf of fire shot up, unobscured by the vapors, from the crater. From its midst, luminous fragments and bright scintillations were thrown in every direction. Some of them pierced the dome of smoke, leaving behind a perfect cloud of incandescent dust. This outpouring was accompanied by rapid detonations, like the discharge of a battery of mitrailleuses. very French-looking word. I don't know if there's an English pronunciation of that. Does it mean machine guns? How do you pronounce it in I'm guessing it's a French word that has like a bastardized English pronunciation. Mitrailleuse. Oh, okay. It's just that pronunciation. Okay. Mitrailleuse. Okay. 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 Cool, cool, cool. Oh, you pronounce the L's? Mitrailleuse? Mitrailleuse? Oh, I can't say that. That is too against the French. I don't know. A battery of mitrailleuses. Smith, the reporter, and the lad, after having passed an hour on Prospect Plateau, returned to Granite House. The engineer was pensive, and so much preoccupied that Spilett asked him if he anticipated any near danger. Yes and no, responded Smith. But the worst that can happen, said the reporter, would be an earthquake, which would overthrow the island. And I don't think that is to be feared, since the vapors and lava have a free passage of escape. Well, I do not fear an earthquake, answered Smith, of the ordinary kind, such as are brought about by the expansion of subterranean vapors, but other causes may bring about great disaster. For example? I do not know exactly. I must visit the mountain. In a few days I shall have made up my mind. Spilett asked no further questions, and soon, notwithstanding the increased violence of the volcano, the inhabitants of Granite House slept soundly. Luna, thank you for watching over on YouTube. Thank you, thank you. 3 days passed, the 4th, 5th, and 6th of January, during which they worked on the ship, and, without explaining himself further, the engineer hastened the work as much as possible. Mount Franklin was covered with a sinister cloud, and with the flames vomited forth incandescent rocks, some of which fell back into the crater. This made Pencroff, who wished to look upon the phenomenon from an amusing side, say, "Look, the giant plays at cup and ball. He is a juggler." And indeed, the matters vomited forth fell back into the abyss, and it seemed as if the lavas, swollen by the interior pressure, had not yet risen to the mouth of the crater. At least, the fracture on the northeast, which was partly visible, did not pour forth any torrent on the western side of the mountain. Meanwhile, however pressing the shipbuilding, other cares required the attention of the colonists in different parts of the island. First of all, they must go to the corral, where the mouflons and the goats were enclosed, and renew the provisions for these animals. It was therefore agreed that Ayrton should go there the next day, and as it was customary for but one to do this work, the others were surprised to hear the engineer say to Ayrton, "As you are going to the corral tomorrow, I will go with you." Oh, Mr. Smith," cried the sailor, "our time is very limited, and if you go off in this way, we lose just that much help." Oh no, wait, that's fucking Pencroff, sorry. Ayrton's also like a sailor, so I got confused. I think this is meant to be Pencroff. "Oh, Mr. Smith," cried the sailor, "our time is very limited. If you go off in this way, we lose just that much help." "We will return the next day," answered Smith, "but I must go to the corral. I wish to see about this eruption." "Eruption? Eruption," answered Pencroff with a dissatisfied air. "What is there important about this eruption? It doesn't bother me." Notwithstanding the sailor's protest, the exploration was decided upon for the next day. Herbert wanted to go with Smith, but he did not wish to annoy Pencroff by absenting himself. So early the next morning, Smith and Ayrton started off with the wagon and onagers. Over the forest hung huge clouds, constantly supplied from Mount Franklin with fuliginous matter. They were evidently composed of heterogeneous substances. It was not altogether the smoke from the volcano that made them so heavy and opaque. Scoriae, in a state of powder, pulverized putzolane and gray cinder as fine as the finest fecula, were held in suspension in their thick folds. These cinders remained in air, sometimes for months at a time. After the eruption of 1783 in Iceland, for more than a year the atmosphere was so charged with volcanic powder that the sun's rays were scarcely visible. Usually, however, these pulverized matters fall to the earth at once, and it was so in this instance. Smith and Ayrton had hardly reached the corral when a sort of black cloud, like fine gunpowder, fell and instantly modified the whole aspect of the ground. Trees, fields, everything was covered with a coating several fingers deep. But most fortunately, the wind was from the northeast, and the greater part of the cloud was carried off to the sea. "Well, that is very curious," said Ayrton. "It is very serious," answered Smith. "This putzolane, this pulverized pumice stone, all this mineral dust, in short, shows how deep-seated is the commotion in the volcano." Moanificent, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Welcome. And Artax, hello, and thank you for watching on YouTube as well. Hades, you might have been the only one looking at the screen when I did that. Artax, thank you for the 300 biddies. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay. But there is nothing to be done. Nothing but to observe the progress of the phenomenon. Employ yourself, Ayrton, at the corral, and meanwhile I will go up to the sources of Red Creek and examine the state of the mountain on its western side. Then, sir? Well, then we will make a visit to Cryptocar. I wish to see... Well, I will come back for you in a couple of hours. Ayrton went into the corral and, while waiting for the return of the engineer, occupied himself with the mouflons and goats, which showed a certain uneasiness before these first symptoms of an eruption. Meantime, Smith had ventured to climb the eastern spurs of the mountain, and he arrived at the place where his companions had discovered the sulfur spring on their first exploration. How everything was changed. Instead of a single column of smoke, he counted 13 escaping from the ground as if thrust upward by a piston. It was evident that the crust of earth was subjected in this place to a frightful pressure. The atmosphere was saturated with gases and aqueous vapors. Smith felt the volcanic tufa, the pulverulent cinders hardened by time, trembling beneath him. But he did not yet see any traces of fresh lava. Artax, thank you for gifting a sub to Hades. That is so kind of you. Thank you so much. It was the same with the western slope of the mountain. Smoke and flames escaped from the crater. A hail of scoriae fell upon the soil, but no lava flowed from the gullet of the crater, which was another proof that the volcanic matter had not attained the upper orifice of the central chimney. "And I would be better satisfied if they had," said Smith to himself. "At least I would be certain that the lavas had taken their accustomed route. Who knows if they may not burst forth from some new mouth? But that is not the danger. Captain Nemo has well foreseen it. No, the danger is not there. Smith went forward as far as the enormous causeway, whose prolongation inframed Shark Gulf. Here he was able to examine the ancient lava marks. There could be no doubt that the last eruption had been at a far distant epoch. Then he returned, listening to the subterranean rumblings, which sounded like continuous thunder, and by 9 o'clock he was at the corral. Ayrton was waiting for him. Luna! Luna, thank you for the YouTube membership. Thank you for membering. Luna, thank you. That is so lovely of you. And now you'll be able to use the emotes over there. Yay! I remember. Hi, Messy Nessie. Yes, I am back home. Hi, Himiko. How are you doing? It's good to see you. You're done with Twitch, so you think the tubes is the thing? I mean, it is. If one of the things that is most important about, like, you know, subscribing on Twitch is the ability to use the emotes, it's a lot cheaper on YouTube. It's a lot cheaper. Hi, Wrecker. Oh my goodness, that is quite the name, isn't it? Hi, Emhorn. I know, but it will have to end at some time, but not for a while more. Not for a while more. You're a lot cheaper on YouTube. You got me. You got me. Okay. Ayrton was waiting for him. The animals are attended to, sir, said he. All right, Ayrton. They seem to be restless, Mr. Smith. Yes, it is their instinct, which does not mislead them. When you are ready, take a lantern and tinder, Ayrton, and let us go. Ayrton did as he was told. The onagers had been unharnessed and placed in the corral, and Smith, leading, took the route to the coast. They walked over a soil covered with the pulverulent matter which had fallen from the clouds. No animal appeared. Even the birds had flown away. Sometimes a breeze passed laden with cinders, and the two colonists, caught in the cloud, were unable to see. They had to place handkerchiefs over their eyes and nostrils, or they would have been blind and suffocated. Yes, an onager is like a wild mule, yes. You missed some content, but you can still be here for most of it. Yes, and then, I mean, it's mainly just that first hour, because then the reading is here, and the ASMR that comes after this is on the other YouTube channel. So, yeah. Hi, Mordem. I'm now your favorite streamer. What the heck? Well, thank you, Mordem. That's very nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Onager is the name of an early catapult. I wonder if it's because, like, the catapult, like, kicked like a mule. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's giving them too much credit, but that would be fun etymology. It kicks like a mule. Yeah. Okay. Under these circumstances, they could not march rapidly. The air was heavy, as if all the oxygen had been burned out of it, making it unfit to breathe. Every now and then they had to stop, and it was after 10 o'clock when the engineer and his companion reached the summit of the enormous heap of basaltic and porphyritic rocks which formed the northwest coast of the island. Hi, Squishbat. Hello. How you doing? They began to go down this abrupt descent, following the detestable road which, during that stormy night, had led them to Crypt Dakar. By daylight, this descent was less perilous, and moreover, the covering of cinders gave a firmer foothold to the slippery rocks. The projection was soon attained, and as the tide was low, Smith and Ayrton found the opening to the crypt without any difficulty. "Is the boat there?" asked the engineer. "Yes, sir," answered Ayrton, drawing the boat towards him. "Well, let us get in then, Ayrton," said the engineer. The two embarked in the boat. Ayrton lit the lantern and, placing it in the bow of the boat, took the oars, and Smith, taking the tiller, steered into the darkness. The Nautilus was no longer here to illuminate this somber cavern. Perhaps the electric irradiation still shone under the waters, but no light came from the abyss where Captain Nemo reposed. The light of the lantern was barely sufficient to permit the engineer to advance, following the right-hand wall of the crypt. A sepulchral silence reigned in this portion of the vault, but soon Smith heard distinctly the mutterings which came from the interior of the earth. "It is the volcano," he said. Soon, with this noise, the chemical combinations betrayed themselves by a strong odor, and sulphurous vapors choked the engineer and his companion. "It is as Captain Nemo feared," murmured Smith, growing pale. "We must go on to the end." 25 minutes after having left the opening, the two reached the terminal wall and stopped. Smith, standing on the seat, moved the lantern about over this wall which separated the crypt from the central chimney of the volcano. How thick was it? Whether 100 feet or but 10 could not be determined, but the subterranean noises were too plainly heard for it to be very thick. The engineer, after having explored the wall along a horizontal line, fixed the lantern to the end of an oar and went over it again at a greater height. There, through scarcely visible cracks, came a pungent smoke which infected the air of the cavern. The wall was striped with these fractures, and some of the larger ones came to within a few feet of the water. At first, Smith rested thoughtful. Then he murmured these words: "Yes, Captain Nemo was right. There is the danger. There is the danger, and it is terrible." Ayrton said nothing, but on a sign from the engineer, he took up the oars, and a half hour later, he and Smith came out of Crypt Dakar. End of chapter. Right, because if you guys remember when Nemo was dying, and they were all gathered around him, and then he asked for everyone to step out so that he could talk privately with Cyrus. So I guess it was warning about this. Hi, Xavier. Yeah, Artax, I did as well, but I didn't really talk about that as an option because I didn't want to, plant it in anyone's mind or inadvertently spoil anything, but yeah. Ayrton said blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. Okay, well, shall we read another? It did start with a balloon. Okay. Oh, Squishbat, you're just about to start your overnight shift. Wonderful. Well, let me read to you while you work. Another. Did you guys hear that? Was that like a firework or a crash? I don't think it was thunder. Artax, thank you for the 300 biddies. I don't think it was thunder. I hope it wasn't a crash. That was loud. Oh my god. Was it the moon? Yeah. I hope not a car crash. Hi, Husky. Are we finishing the book tonight? We're gonna try. We're gonna try. We're gonna do our fucking best. Train crash? No, I'm not near the train anymore. I'm back home. I'm back home. No more train in the distance. It was just Nim rumble strutting. She got that booty. Okay, let's jump into the new chapter. So, if you are following along with me, it's chapter 61, or LXI. Intermittent reminder, in case anyone is joined on the Twitch side, that we are also streaming live on YouTube. Oh, could we get the link for the YouTube in a pinned message? And it is incredibly helpful at this time if you're able to open up the YouTube stream, because we are working on getting enough watch hours for the partner program over there. So it's incredibly helpful. Yes. Okay. Chapter 61. The next morning, the 8th of January, after a day and night passed at the corral, Smith and Ayrton returned to Granite House. Then the engineer assembled his companions and told them that Lincoln Island was in fearful danger, a danger which no human power could prevent. "My friends," said he, and his voice betrayed great emotion, "Lincoln Island is doomed to destruction, sooner or later. The cause is in itself, and there is no means of removing it." The colonists looked at each other. They did not understand him. "Explain yourself, Cyrus," said Spilett. "I will, or rather, I will give you the explanation which Captain Nemo gave me when I was alone with him." "Captain Nemo!" cried the colonists. "Yes, it was the last service he rendered us before he died." "The last service?" cried Pencroff. "The last service? You think because he's dead that he will help us no more?" Yeah, Pencroff, that's... that is how it works. I think Pencroff still thinks Nemo is, like, mystical. "What did he say?" asked the reporter. "This, my friends," answered the engineer. "Lincoln Island is not like the other islands of the Pacific." Oh no. You guys, it's not like the other islands. Nemo's a lich. Oh, Lord. Okay. "Lincoln Island is not like the other islands of the Pacific, and a particular event, made known to me by Captain Nemo, will cause, sooner or later, the destruction of its submarine framework." "Destruction of Lincoln Island? What an idea!" cried Pencroff, who, in spite of his respect for Smith, could not help shrugging his shoulders. "Listen to me, Pencroff," continued the engineer. "Pencroff!" "This is what Captain Nemo ascertained and what I verified yesterday in Cryptocar. The crypt extends under the island as far as the volcano, and is only separated from the central chimney by the wall. Now, this wall is seamed with fractures and cracks, through which the sulphurous gas is already escaping." "Well?" asked Pencroff, wrinkling his forehead. "Well, I have ascertained that these fractures are widening under the pressure from within, that the basalt wall Sorry, there's a really weird typo in there. I'm just gonna fix it in a grammatical way. That the basalt wall is gradually bursting open, and that sooner or later it will give a passage to the waters of the sea." "Well, that's all right," exclaimed Pencroff, trying still to make light of the subject. "That's all right. The sea will put out the volcano, and that will be the end of it." "Yes, that will be the end of it," answered Smith. "On the day that the sea rushes through the wall and penetrates by the central chimney to the bowels of the island, where the eruptive matter is boiling. On that day, Pencroff, Lincoln Island will go up, as Sicily would go up if the Mediterranean was emptied into Etna." The colonists made no reply. They understood the threatened danger. It was no longer doubtful that the island was menaced by a frightful explosion, that it would last only as long as the wall to Cryptocar remained intact. This was not a question of months, nor of weeks, but of days, of hours perhaps. The first sensation the colonists experienced was one of profound sorrow. They did not think of the peril which menaced them directly, but of the destruction of that land which had given them asylum, of that island which they had cultivated, which they loved, which they wished to render so prosperous some day. All their labor uselessly employed, all their work lost. Pencroff did not attempt to hide the tears which rolled down his cheeks. They talked for some little time longer. The chances which they might count upon were discussed, but in conclusion they realized that not an hour was to be lost, that the ship must be completed as soon as possible, as now it was the only chance of safety left to the inhabitants of Lincoln Island. All hands were required. Where was the use now of sowing or harvesting, of hunting or increasing the reserve at Granite House? The present contents of the magazine were sufficient to provision the ship for as long a voyage as she could make. What was necessary was that these should be at the disposal of the colonists before the accomplishment of the inevitable catastrophe. The work was undertaken with feverish eagerness. By the 23rd of January, the ship was half-planked. Up to this time, there had been no change in the volcano. It was always the vapors, the smoke mixed with flames and pierced by incandescent stones, which escaped from the crater. But during the night of the 23rd, the upper cone, which formed the cap of the volcano, was lifted off by the pressure of the lava, which had reached the level of the lower cone. A terrible noise was heard. The colonists, believing that the island was going to pieces, rushed out of Granite House. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The heavens were on fire. The upper cone, a mass 1,000 feet high and weighing thousands of millions of pounds, had been thrown upon the island, making the earth tremble. Happily, this cone leaned to the north, and it fell upon a plain of sand and tufa which lay between the volcano and the sea. The crater, by this means greatly widened, threw towards the sky a light so intense that by the simple effect of reverberation, the atmosphere seemed to be incandescent. At the same time, a torrent of lava swelled up over this new summit, falling in long streams like water escaping from an overflowing vase, and 1,000 fiery serpents writhed upon the talus of the volcano. "The corral! The corral!" cried Ayrton. It was, indeed, towards the corral that the lava took their way, following the slope of the new crater and, consequently, the fertile parts of the island. The sources of Red Creek and Jacamar Wood were threatened with immediate destruction. At the cry of Ayrton, the colonists had rushed toward the stable of the onagers and harnessed the animals. All had but one thought: to fly to the corral and let loose the beast confined there. Before 3 o'clock they were there. Frightful cries indicated the terror of the mouflons and goats. Already a torrent of incandescent matter, of liquefied minerals, fell over the mountain spur upon the plain, destroying that side of the palisade. The gate was hastily opened by Ayrton, and the animals, wild with terror, escaped in every direction. An hour later, the boiling lava filled the corral, volatilizing the water of the little brook which traversed it, firing the house, which burned like a bit of stubble, devouring to the last stake the surrounding palisade. Nothing was left of the corral. The colonists wanted to struggle against this invasion. They had tried it, but foolishly and uselessly. Man is helpless before these grand cataclysms. The morning of the 24th arrived. Smith and his companions, before returning to Granite House, wished to observe the definite direction which this inundation of lava would take. The general slope of the ground from Mount Franklin was towards the east coast, and it was to be feared that, notwithstanding the thick Jacamar woods, the torrent would extend to Prospect Plateau. "The lake will protect us," said Spilett. "I hope so," answered Smith. But that was all he said. The colonists would have liked to have advanced as far as the place on which the upper cone of Mount Franklin abutted, but their passage was barred by the lavas, which followed, on the one hand, the valley of Red Creek, and on the other, the course of Fall River, vaporizing these two streams in their passage. There was no possible way of crossing this stream. It was necessary, on the contrary, to fly before it. The flattened volcano was no longer recognizable. A sort of smooth slab terminated it, replacing the old crater. Two outlets, broken in the south and east sides, poured forth unceasing streams of lava, which formed two distinct currents. Above the new crater, a cloud of smoke and cinders mixed with the vapors of the sky and hung over the island. Peals of thunder mingled with the rumbling of the mountain. Burning rocks were thrown up thousands of feet, bursting in the sky and scattering like grape shot. The heavens answered with lightning flashes the eruption of the volcano. By 7 o'clock, the colonists were no longer able to keep their position on the edge of Jacamar Wood. Not only did the projectiles begin to fall about them, but the lavas, overflowing the bed of Red Creek, threatened to cut off the road from the corral. The first ranks of trees took fire, and their sap, vaporized, made them explode like firecrackers, while others, less humid, remained intact in the midst of the inundation. Himiko, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Himiko. Hi, Mixed Boy. Hello, hello, hello. You guys, the volcano is exploding. Shit is going down. Chaos Gauge. Hello over on YouTube. Thank you for watching on YouTube. But they wish they'd kept that sub, right? No, wait, the sub couldn't get out of the cave, though. That was one of the problems. It could be sunk to the bottom, but it couldn't actually get out of the cave. Mix Boy with the 90 stream streak, Mix Boy. Thank you very much. Himiko, how was your stream today? You guys make sure you were following Goddess Himiko. God, that emote combo is so cute. So cute. Welcome in, you guys. Yeah, we are in the penultimate chapter of The Mysterious Island, and the volcano is exploding. The ship is not 100% done, but they have to get the fuck off the island. So it is very tense. Hi, Silent Yellow. You played games, but when you switched to ASMR, you encountered an internet problem. Oh no. Oh no. That sucks. That always sucks. Well, that's awesome that the gaming went well, though. Yeah, feel free to settle in. If, my tab crashed. If you would like a name trace, when we start doing the triggers again, let me know. Yeah. And Himiko, thank you also for watching over on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Ortex, thank you for the 200 more viddies. Yes, I am also live on YouTube, where we are working towards unlocking the full partner program over there. So watching over there directly is so helpful in terms of accruing those watch hours that we need. And also subbing. If you haven't dropped a sub over on YouTube, that is the free follow over on YouTube. If you haven't, that would be awesome. Okay, all right. Let's jump back in. Himiko, thank you again so much. Let's see. Okay, so it's exploded. There's like literal burning rock raining down amongst them. Okay. The colonists started back. The torrent, owing to the slope of the land, gained eastward rapidly, and as the lower layers of lava hardened, others, boiling, covered them. Meantime, the principal current in the Red Creek Valley became more and more threatening. All that part of the forest was surrounded, and enormous clouds of smoke rolled above the trees, whose roots were already in the lava. The colonists stopped at the lake shore, half a mile from the mouth of Red Creek. A question of life or death was about to be decided for them. Smith, accustomed to think and reason in the presence of danger, and aware that he was speaking to men who could face the truth, whatever it might be, said to them, "Either the lake will arrest this current, and a part of the island will be preserved from complete devastation, or the current will invade the forests of the far west, and not a tree, not a plant will be left upon the face of the ground. We will have, upon these rocks stripped of life, the prospect of a death which the explosion of the island may anticipate." "Then," cried Pencroff, crossing his arms and stamping his foot on the ground, "it is useless to work on the ship, isn't it so?" "Pencroff," answered Smith, "it is necessary to do one's duty to the end." At this moment, the flood of lava, after having eaten its way through the splendid trees of the forest, neared the lake. There was a certain depression in the ground which, if it had been larger, might perhaps suffice to hold the torrent. "Let us try!" Oh wait, sorry, that was a Pencroff voice. "Let us try," cried Smith. The idea of the engineer was instantly understood by all. It was necessary to dam, so to speak, this torrent and force it into the lake. The colonists ran to the shipyard and brought back from there shovels, picks, and hatchets, and by means of earthworks and hewn trees they succeeded, in a few hours, in raising a barrier 3 feet high and some hundreds of feet long. It seemed to them, when they had finished, that they had not worked more than a few minutes. It was time. The liquefied matter already reached the extremity of the barrier. The flood spread like a swollen river seeking to overflow its banks and threatening to break down the only obstacle which could prevent its devastating all the far west. I'm gonna wait for that siren to finish. This is a bad situation. would it not be like doing them a lot of damage just to be breathing right now? Okay. But the barrier was sufficient to withstand it. Motherfucking sorry. Okay, you know what? I'm being impatient. I'll let it pass. That was something nice about being out of town. There were fewer sirens where I was at. Are you done now? Yes, okay. But the barrier was sufficient to withstand it, and after one terrible moment of hesitation, it precipitated itself into Lake Grant by a fall 20 feet high. The colonists, breathless, without a word, without a gesture, looked upon this struggle of the elements. What a sight was this! The combat between fire and water. What pen can describe this scene of marvelous horror? What pencil can portray it? The water hissed and steamed at the contact of the boiling lavas. The steam was thrown, whirling to an immeasurable height in the air, as if the valves of an immense boiler had been suddenly opened. But great as was the mass of water contained in the lake, it must, finally, be absorbed, since it was not renewed, while the torrent, fed from an inexhaustible source, was ceaselessly pouring in fresh floods of incandescent matter. The first lavas which fell into the lake solidified at once and accumulated in such a manner as soon to emerge above the surface. Over these slid other lavas, which in their turn became stone, forming a breakwater which threatened to fill up the lake, which could not overflow as its surplus water was carried off in steam. Hissings and shrivelings filled the air with a stunning noise, and the steam, carried off by the wind, fell to the ground in rain. The jetty spread, and where formerly had been peaceable waters, appeared an enormous heap of smoking rocks, as if some upheaval of the ground had raised these thousands of reefs. If one can imagine these waters tossed about by a storm, and then suddenly solidified by cold, you will have the appearance of the lake 3 hours after the irresistible torrent had poured into it. This time the water had been overcome by fire. Nevertheless, it was a fortunate thing for the colonists that the lavas had been turned into the lake. It gave them some days' respite. Prospect Plateau, Granite House, and the shipyard were safe for the moment. In these few days they must plank and caulk the vessel, launch it, and take refuge upon it, rigging it after it was on the sea. With the fear of the explosion menacing the destruction of the island, it was no longer safe to remain on land. Granite House, so safe a retreat up to this time, might, at any moment, fall. During the next 6 days, the colonists worked on the ship with all their might. Sleeping but little, the light of the flames from the volcano permitted them to work by night as well as by day. The eruption continued without cessation, but perhaps less abundantly. A fortunate circumstance, since Lake Grant was nearly full, and if fresh lavas had slid over the surface of the former layers, they would inevitably have spread over Prospect Plateau, and from there to the shore. But while this part of the island was partially protected, it was otherwise with the west coast, The second current of lava, following the valley of Fall River, met with no obstacle. The ground on either side of the bank was low, and the incandescent liquid was spread through the forests of the far west. At this season of the year, the trees were dried by the warmth of the summer and took fire instantly, and the high interlacing branches hastened the progress of the conflagration. It seemed as if the current of flame traversed the surface of the forest more swiftly than the current of lavas, its depths. The beasts and birds of the woods sought refuge on the shore of the Mersey and in the marshes of Tadorn's fens. But the colonists were too busy to pay any attention to these animals. They had, moreover, abandoned Granite House. They had not even sought refuge in the chimneys, but they camped in a tent near the mouth of the Mersey. Every day, Smith and Spilett climbed up to Prospect Plateau. Sometimes Herbert went with them, but Pencroft never. The sailor did not wish to look upon the island in its present condition of devastation. It was, indeed, a desolate spectacle. All its wooded part was now denuded. One single group of green trees remained on the extremity of Serpentine Peninsula. Here and there appeared some blackened stumps. The site of the forests was more desolate than Tadorn's fens. The invasion of the lavas had been complete. Where formerly had been a pleasant verdure was now nothing but a waste covered with volcanic tufa. The valleys of Fall River and Red Creek contained no water, and if Lake Grant had been completely filled up, the colonists would have had no means to slack their thirst. But fortunately, its southern extremity had been spared and formed a sort of pool which held all the fresh water remaining on the island. To the northwest, the spurs of the mountain, in jagged outline, looked like a gigantic claw grasping the ground. What a doleful spectacle! What a frightful aspect! How grievous for the colonists who, from a domain, fertile, wooded, traversed by watercourses, enriched by harvests, found themselves, in an instant, reduced to a devastated rock upon which, without their stores, they would not have had the means of living. "It is heartbreaking," said the reporter. "Yes, Spilett," answered the engineer, "and pray heaven that we are given time to finish the ship, which is now our sole refuge. Does it not seem to you, Cyrus, that the volcano is subsiding? It still vomits lava, but I think less freely." "It matters little," answered Smith. "The fire is still fierce in the bowels of the mountain, and the sea may rush in there at any moment. We are like persons on a ship devoured by a fire which they cannot control, who know that sooner or later the flames will reach the powder magazine. Come, Spilett, come. We have not an hour to lose." For 8 days longer, that is to say, until the 8th of February, the lavas continued to flow, but the eruption confined itself to the limits described. Smith feared more than anything else an overflow of the lavas onto the beach, in which case the shipyard would be destroyed. But about this time the colonists felt vibrations in the ground which gave them the greatest uneasiness. The 20th of February arrived. A month longer was necessary to fit the ship for sea. Would the island last that long? It was Smith's intention to launch her as soon as her hull should be sufficiently caulked. The deck, lining, arranging the interior, and the rigging could be done afterwards, but the important thing was to secure a refuge off the island. Perhaps it would be better to take the vessel round to Balloon Harbor, the point farthest from the eruptive center, as at the mouth of the Mersey, between the islet and the granite wall, she ran the risk of being crushed in case of a breaking up of the island. Therefore, all the efforts of the workmen were directed to completing the hull. Artax, thank you for gifting a sub to Goddess Himiko. Thank you, thank you. That is so sweet of you. I paired this. Okay. On the 3rd of March, they were able to calculate that the ship could be launched in 12 days. Hope returned to the hearts of these colonists, who had been so sorely tried during this 4th year of their sojourn on Lincoln Island. Even Pencroff was roused from the taciturnity into which he had been plunged by the ruin and devastation of his domain. He thought of nothing else but the ship, on which he concentrated all his hopes. "We will finish her," he said to the engineer. "We will finish her, Mr. Smith, and it is high time, for you see how far advanced the season is, and it will soon be the equinox. Well, if it is necessary, we will winter at Tabor Island. But Tabor Island, after Lincoln Island. Alas, how unlucky I am to think that I should live to see such a thing as this." "Let us make haste," was the invariable answer of the engineer. And everyone worked unceasingly. "Master," asked Nab some days later, "if Captain Nemo had been alive, do you think this would have happened?" "Yes, Nab," answered the engineer. "I don't think so," whispered Pencroff to Nab. "Nor I," replied Nab. During the first week in March, Mount Franklin became again threatening. Thousands of threads of glass made by the fluid lavas fell like rain to the earth, like rain to the ground. The crater gave forth fresh torrents of lava that flowed down every side of the volcano. These torrents flowed over the surface of hardened lava and destroyed the last vestiges of the trees which had survived the first eruption. The current, this time following the southwest shore of Lake Grant, flowed along Glycerin Creek and invaded Prospect Plateau. This last calamity was a terrible blow to the colonists. Of the mill, the poultry yard, the stables, nothing remained. The frightened inhabitants of these places fled in every direction. Top and Jupe gave signs of the utmost terror, and their instinct warned them of an impending disaster. A large number of animals had perished in the first eruption, and those which survived had found their only refuge in Tadorn's Fens and on Prospect Plateau. But this last retreat was now closed from them, and the torrent of lava, having reached the edge of the granite wall, began to fall over onto the shore in cataracts of fire. The sublime horror of this spectacle passes all description. At night, it looked like a Niagara of molten matter, with its incandescent spray rising on high and its boiling masses below. I'm gonna let the sirens pass. with its incandescent spray rising on high and its boiling masses below. We can still hear the siren, can't we? You love this? It got really loud. It got really loud when I was muted. Damn it. It's not just fading away. We will wait. Bet that crash you heard was an explosion? Maybe. It's possible. It's a lot of sirens. Okay, the siren got really loud and then just suddenly shut itself off. Okay. I hope it doesn't just start up because it's really close. We're hearing reports of a volcanic eruption. Okay. Oh man, don't even joke about that after what happened in my building. Okay. I'm gonna read this line again so that I have a version of it that doesn't have wee-woos in the background. Also, hi Johnny. I can still hear them. Can you guys hear them? That's a lot of sirens. I wonder if you're right. I wonder if there was some kind of explosion. That's a really slow response time though. Like, it's been several minutes since then. Like, at least 10 minutes, hasn't it? 20? What happened in your building? One of the apartments caught on fire a couple weeks ago? Recently? Luckily, it was on a different floor and my own apartment was not damaged, but we did have to evacuate. During a Gulliver's readings, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, and now the apartment it happened in is all like taped off like a crime scene. Apparently the police were looking for, I don't know, it was a whole thing. Okay, let's try it again. At night, it looked like a Niagara of molten matter, with its incandescent spray rising on high and its boiling masses below. The colonists were driven to them. I'm gonna shut my windows. It's gonna be warm, but this is going on so long. Yeah, a Niagara. Hold on, I'm gonna shut my windows. Okay. When it's like calling vampires a Dracula. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to see it used in that way in such a formal context. Like an old-fashioned book, you know? Like I wouldn't blink at seeing that just like in like a post that someone does online or something. But oh, I'm here for it. It's fine. Okay. It was. Yeah, no. Okay, let's see what happens. Every time you try to start the sentence, I know, right? They're like, Also, my bangs look stupid now. They're trying to stop me from saying a Niagara. A whole Niagara's worth. That is terrifying, though. Like, I think he's doing a pretty good job of describing, like, the horrors, except for the fact that so far he hasn't really talked about if it's, like, affected the breathing quality of the air. Can you not, Finch? God, you're gonna make it so I don't share secrets with you anymore. Your bangs never look bad. Well, that's not true, but I appreciate the lie. That's very sweet of you. Okay, let's see what happens. He hasn't said shit about the heat. Yeah, they haven't mentioned the heat or the air quality. And I feel like that is like kind of a big thing. They were like building a barrier as they're waiting for the lava to reach them. Like, they would be fucking hot there. What pen could describe the water and lava? And then he goes on to describe it for several pages. It'd be quite a calamity, yes. Okay. Hi, Baker Streets. Hello, welcome in. It was recommended to you on YouTube. Well, that's awesome. Well, Baker Streets, which I'm guessing is a Sherlock reference. We read books here. I read books live. I've been doing it over on Twitch for, gosh, you guys, I think this October is my 4-year anniversary or something. But I've only started streaming on YouTube less than a year ago. So I'm working towards the partner program here on YouTube. But yeah, if you take a peek, there are several playlists. A couple of them are edited, the other ones are all live, so they're unedited and they contain like all this kind of chit chat. And as time goes on, I will be adding more and more books, both edited and live. So if you like listening to story time, that's what we do here. Yeah. And we have read a decent amount of Sherlock, and we'll be reading more if you are a fan of that. Yes, we are at the very end of The Mysterious Island, the penultimate chapter. So everything is going up in flames, literally. Yep. Oh, Mark, that's very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh, I'm glad you found us, Baker Streets. Thank you. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, I'm gonna read this sentence again, just in case you guys were not clear. I just want to have a take that doesn't have sirens in the background. All right. Okay. At night, it looked like a Niagara of molten matter, with its incandescent spray rising on high and its boiling masses below. The colonists were driven to their last refuge, and although the upper seams were uncaulked, they resolved to launch their ship into the sea. Pencroff and Ayrton made the preparations for this event, which was to take place on the morning of the next day, the 9th of March. But during that night, an enormous column of steam escaped from the crater, rising in the midst of terrific detonations to a height of more than 3,000 feet. The wall of Cryptocar had given way under the pressure of the gas, and the sea, pouring through the central chimney into the burning gulf, was turned into steam. How are we still hearing sirens? I shut both the windows. Lemon Slut, thank you for gifting a sub to Wee Woo. Can you guys hear that? Oh my god. It's like they're welcoming me home. You're invested in the exploding volcano? Me too. Me too. Hi, Pedwayne. Barely. Okay. Is this window open? How is it getting in here? That's crazy. Okay. Lots of really loud sirens tonight. I'm so sorry. You like when I say but? Why? Okay. The crater was not a sufficient vent for this vapor. An explosion, which could have been heard 100 miles away, shook the very heavens. Fragments of the mountain fell into the Pacific, and in a few minutes, the ocean covered the place where Lincoln Island had been. End of chapter. Well, that was dramatic. That was dramatic. You guys, we gotta read the last chapter. We have to. One left. We have to finish it tonight. We have to, because September's coming up. And here, September, October, our spooky season. Classic horror. Oh my goodness. Artax, thank you for the 100 biddies. Thank you so much. Wait, spaceship, what do you mean get wrecked island? Let's do this. Yeah. Can I pay you money to buy your book VODs so I don't need to use YouTube? Wait. Explain what you're asking. You don't want to go on YouTube at all, but you want to listen to my VODs? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, we have Lemon Slut being like, rip Island, and Psalm's like, get wrecked. But the island knows what it did. Oh, so it's not about not wanting to use YouTube, it's that you want to be able to listen to them offline. This is something I haven't thought about. I have thought about putting them like on Spotify. Is that something that would work? Right. Is something like, would people like to listen to Spotify? You can download stuff on YouTube to listen offline. You can. This person is very kindly considering, like if you do that, the creator doesn't get any kickback from that, of course, right? Like I'm not saying, like, you know, but it is technically stealing. Look, I definitely say yo-ho-hoing some things is, like, makes sense. Small creators, less, you know, not as cool. Spotify would take your content with this AI. Really? Spotify's doing it? Everyone's doing it? I don't mean using third-party tools. I mean that YouTube has it as a feature. Oh. Is that only with YouTube Premium? Or all YouTube? Google is by far, and I mean by far, the worst offender in AI content theft. I'm so fucking tired, man. And angry. I'm angry and tired. It might only be YouTube Premium. Yeah. So Chompy's wondering if there's a way to do that, like, without it being premium. I am... Something, you guys know the huge list that we've got the event coming up, we've got multiple things, so it has not been like the thing I've been directly looking into, but I've been thinking about having something like a Patreon where, because you can upload videos, right? Like, maybe having some videos that are like on Patreon. Yeah, so possibly something like that. Yeah. Apple Books? Maybe. I'm not familiar with Apple Books. Like, I haven't ever used it. But yeah. You could also sell the vids through Patreon or Squarespace. Oh, Squarespace. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm open to brainstorming with you about it, like over on the Discord or whatever. Well, that's very sweet. I really appreciate that. That is so sweet of you. Genuinely. Yeah, I'm, again, with everything going on, it's not like I'm not gonna make any promises about like, oh yeah, I'll get it up on a new platform like in the next week or whatever, because it's like this is crazy busy time with the event coming up. But that is something that I am very open to talking about and making happen. So feel free to, like, and in fact, please, if you're able to pick up this conversation with me again, John B, it's something that I would like to try to figure out anyways. And if you, like, poke me a little bit about it, that would probably help me. So, but I really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we are gonna finish this book tonight. We have one chapter left. Now, High Liminal, this isn't even like a break. I'm gonna go to the BRB screen for like a minute. I think there's a window open in the bedroom, and I think the sirens are coming in that. I just want to go close that. Okay, I'll be back in like a minute. And also, that way I get to stretch my back. Should you get YouTube Premium? Man, I don't know. I never had YouTube Premium. And then probably about 2 months ago, so I need to check on this, they were like, hey, here's an offer to get 2 months free. And I was like, 2 months free is pretty good. So I got it, and I've been really enjoying it, but I don't know if I'm going to keep paying for it. There are also like ad blockers. Are you on a phone or a computer, Luna? Yeah, it's hella expensive. Yeah. Really, are tags? Nice. Yeah, I've been to like taco places or burrito places where they do like burrito in a bowl for people that are not having like the wraps. Anyways, okay, I will be back literally in a minute. This is not a long break, I promise. Okay, I'll be right back. No. Aw, Locaton, thank you for watching on YouTube. I really appreciate it. It's only on YouTube Premium. Yeah. Listen to this. Yeah. Chompy, if you are using Twitch, the Twitch app, you can, if you're watching a stream on the Twitch app and you go into settings, you can tick audio only, and then you can turn off your phone or just like close the window and it's just the audio playing, and you don't need like turbo or anything. Like, it's just built in to the app. You want the book only okay. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, we will talk more about this, okay? Thank you for bringing it up. No. And also they're like, they disappear after a while. Mark, thank you for the 500 biddies. Thank you. Oh my goodness. With the pain in your back, you could easily be dark, but instead you choose to bring peace and joy through your content. There's a lot to be said about that. It shows true character. You should be proud of yourself, Dragon Lady. Oh my god, Mark. Mark, thank you. That's very, very sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. You're on phone? Okay. You also poke me on Discord. I will let you know the browser I use on my phone. That is really good. Okay. Okay. Alright, you guys, let's read the last chapter. Let's see what happens. Can you imagine they all just die? Okay. Chapter 62. An isolated rock, 30 feet long, 15 feet wide, rising 10 feet above the surface of the water. This was the sole solid point which had not vanished beneath the waves of the Pacific. It was all that remained of Granite House. The wall had been thrown over, then broken to pieces, and some of the rocks of the great hall had been so heaped together as to form this culminating point. All else had disappeared in the surrounding abyss. The lower cone of Mount Franklin, torn to pieces by the explosion. The lava jaws of Shark Gulf. Prospect Plateau, Safety Islet, the granite of Balloon Harbor, the basalt of Crypt Decor, Serpentine Peninsula, had been precipitated into the eruptive center. All that remained of Lincoln Island was this rock, the refuge of the 6 colonists and their dog, Top. All the animals had perished in the catastrophe. The birds, as well as the beasts, all were crashed or drowned. And poor Jupe, alas, had been swallowed up in some crevasse in the ground. What the fuck? Jupiter? What the fuck? That's crazy. Okay. Damn. Had to nip that missing link in the bud. Holy shit. Okay. Oh, poor Jupe. Oh my god, okay. Smith, Spilett, Herbert, Pencroff, Neb, and Ayrton had survived because being gathered together in their tent, are you fucking kidding me? I've closed every single fucking window in here. I'm sorry. Sorry, Papa YouTube. Let me cuss less for a second. What is up tonight? Even for, like, this is more sirens than usual. Heist archives, yes, there is tragedy. Tragedy afoot. Fal's back pain could have inspired her to take away everyone's happy ending, but instead she is the fairy godmother dragon lady we all needed. Oh my god, that's such a cute comment. I love that. Something might have exploded, yeah. That was a really loud crashing sound, so... Oh my god. Okay. Damn, sorry. Sorry for crashing out at the siren. Had survived because, being gathered together in their tent, they had been thrown into the sea at the moment when the debris of the island rained down upon the water. When they came again to the surface, they saw nothing but this rock, half a cable length away, to which they swam. They had been here 9 days. Some provisions brought from the magazine of Granite House before the catastrophe, a little soft water left by the rain in the crevice of the rock. This was all that the unfortunates possessed. Their last hope, their ship, had been broken to pieces. They had no means of leaving this reef. No fire, nor anything with which to make it. They were doomed to perish. This day, the 18th of March, there remained a supply of food, which, with the strictest care, could last but 48 hours longer. All their knowledge, all their skill could avail them nothing now. They were entirely at God's mercy. Smith was calm, Spilett somewhat nervous, and Pencroff ready to throw himself into the sea. Herbert never left the engineer, and gazed upon him as if demanding the succor which he could not give. Neb and Ayrton were resigned after their manner. "Oh, misery, misery," repeated Pencroff. "Oh, if we had but a walnut shell to take us to Tabor Island, but nothing, not a thing." "And Captain Nemo is dead," said Neb. During the 5 days which followed, Smith and his companions ate just enough of the supply of food to keep them from famishing. Their feebleness was extreme. Herbert and Neb began to show signs of delirium. In this situation, had they a shadow of a hope? No. What was their sole chance that a ship would pass in sight of the rock? They knew by experience that ships never visited this part of the Pacific. Could they count, then, by a coincidence which would be truly providential, upon the Scotch yacht coming just at this time to search for Ayrton at Tabor Island? It was not probable. And moreover, supposing that it came, since the colonists had placed no notice there indicating the place where Ayrton was to be found, the captain of the yacht, after a fruitless search of the island, would proceed at once to regain the lower latitudes. No. They could entertain no hope of being saved, and a horrible death, a death by hunger and thirst, awaited them upon this rock. Already they lay stretched out, inanimate, unconscious of what was going on around them. Only Ayrton, by a supreme effort, raised his head and cast a despairing look over this desert sea. But behold, on this morning of the 24th of March, Ayrton extended his arms towards some point in space. He rose up, first to his knees, then stood upright. He waved his hand. A ship was in sight of the island. This ship did not sail these seas at haphazard. The reef was pointing towards which she directed her course, crowding on all steam, and the unfortunates would have seen her many hours before, had they had the strength to scan the horizon. "The Duncan," murmured Ayrton, and then he fell senseless upon the rock. When Smith and his companions regained consciousness, thanks to the care lavished upon them, they found themselves in the cabin of a steamer, unaware of the manner in which they had escaped death. We give it up for Jules Verne. He did it again. Make the characters go briefly unconscious and then they wake up somewhere safe. Well done, Jules. Nailing the ending once again. Bonjour, étrange. Comment ça va? He one sentence a whole fucking... I know. Okay, let's see. A word from Ayrton was sufficient to enlighten them. "It is the Duncan," he murmured. "The Duncan," answered Smith, and then, raising his arms to heaven, he exclaimed, "Oh, all-powerful Providence, that was wished that we should be saved." It was, indeed, the Duncan, Lord Glenarvan's yacht, at this time commanded by Robert, the son of Captain Grant, who had been sent to Tabor Island to search for Ayrton and bring him home after 12 years of expatriation. The colonists were saved. They were already on the homeward route. "Captain Robert," asked Smith, "what suggested to you the idea, after leaving Tabor Island, where you were unable to find Ayrton, to come in this direction?" "Well, it was to search not only for Ayrton, Mr. Smith, but for you and your companions." "My companions and myself?" "Well, doubtless, on Lincoln Island." "Lincoln Island!" cried the others, greatly astonished. "How did you know of Lincoln Island?" asked Smith. "It is not on the maps." "Well, I knew of it by the notice which you left on Tabor Island," answered Grant. "The notice?" cried Spilett. "Well, certainly, and here it is," replied the other, handing him a paper indicating the exact position of the Lincoln Island, the actual residence of Ayrton and of 5 American colonists. "Captain Nemo," said Smith, after having read the notice and recognized that it was in the same handwriting as the paper found at the corral. "Ah," said Pencroff, "it was he who took our good luck, he who ventured alone to Tabor Island." "To place this notice there," answered Herbert. "Then I was right when I said," cried the sailor, "that he would do us a last service, even after his death." "My friends," said Smith, in a voice moved by emotion, "may the God of sinners receive the soul of Captain Nemo. He was our savior." The colonists, uncovering as Smith spake thus, murmured the name of the captain. Then Ayrton, approaching the engineer, said to him simply, "What shall be done with the coffer?" Ayrton had saved this coffer at the risk of his life, at the moment when the island was engulfed. He now faithfully returned it to the engineer. "Ayrton! Ayrton!" exclaimed Smith, greatly affected. Then, addressing Grant, "Captain," he said, "where you left a criminal, you have found a man whom expiation has made honest, and to whom I am proud to give my hand." Thereupon Grant was informed of all the strange history of Captain Nemo and the colonists of Lincoln Island, and then, the bearings of this remaining reef having been taken, Captain Grant gave the order to go about. 15 days later, the colonists landed in America, which they found at peace after the terrible war which had ended in the triumph of justice and right, of the wealth contained in the copper, Of the wealth contained in the coffer, the greater part was employed in the purchase of a vast tract of land in Iowa. One single pearl, the most beautiful of all, was taken from the treasure and sent to Lady Glenarvan in the name of the castaways who had been rescued by the Duncan. To this domain the colonists invited to labor, that is, to fortune and to happiness, all those whom they had counted on receiving at Lincoln Island. Here they founded a great colony, to which they gave the name of the island which had disappeared in the depths of the Pacific. They found here a river, which they called the Mercy, a mountain to which they gave the name of Franklin, a little lake which they called Lake Grant, and forests which became the forests of the far west. It was like an island on terra firma. Here, under the skillful hand of the engineer and his companions, everything prospered. Not one of the former colonists was missing, for they had agreed always to live together. Neb, wherever his master was, Ayrton, always ready to sacrifice himself, Pencroff, a better farmer than he had been a sailor, Herbert, who finished his studies under Smith's direction, Spilett, who founded the New Lincoln Herald, which was the best edited journal in the whole world. Here Smith and his companions often received visits from Lord and Lady Glenarvan, from Captain John Mangles and his wife, sister to Robert Grant, from Robert Grant himself, from Major McNabbs, from all those who had been mixed up in the double history of Captain Grant and Captain Nemo. Here, finally, all were happy, united in the present as they had been in the past, but never did they forget that island upon which they had arrived, poor and naked, that island which for 4 years had sufficed for all their needs, and of which all that remained was a morsel of granite, beaten by the waves of the Pacific, the tomb of him who was Captain Nemo. The end. Dang. Artax, thank you for the 300 biddies. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. I will say, he did have a bit of a cop out there, but that was a much less of an ass pull than his other endings. So I gotta give him a little bit of credit there. Slayed it. Thank you, Jovi. Yeah, it was decent. There was just a little bit of like, you know, fainted on the rock and woke up on the ship, but it was not as egregiously done as his other books. DJ, thank you for the super chat. Oh my goodness. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. That is so sweet of you. Wait, I can't heart this one. This is a sticker. It's a sticker. Still not used to the different things. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. So thank you for the gift sub to AssPolar69. Oh my goodness. His editor told him to Deus Ex the serial because printing costs. Yeah, there is that spaceship you're saying, like the first draft energy. There are parts which feel like could be edited down more, where he really runs rampant with the research that he's obviously done. And then other parts which just are not covered enough, and the endings are kind of wrapped up quickly. Now you want to listen to the whole thing? You haven't been up late enough to book? It's a good story. There are parts where he gets a little too like, let me describe the entire chemical process of this, but Val, do you also, like me, believe they are still in the rock and hallucinated the ending? Yeah, maybe. Maybe they died on that rock and just mass hallucinated being saved before they died. And then they went to the big farmhouse in the sky. You switch me from over ears to in your ears. How does it feel for you? It feels great. I love being inside your ears, Mortem. Yeah, so cozy. I'm gonna ask if it had been serialized. I think... I'm actually not sure. I want to say maybe. Levin Raklana? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. But, Levin Raklana. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Please let me know how to say your name or what you'd like to be called. But welcome. He literally wrote the one thing they knew wouldn't happen. Well, I mean, it is ridiculous timing. It's ridiculous timing, but it was serialized from 1874 to 1875. Okay, thanks for looking that up, Semester. Yeah. Yeah. So. Hi, Red Pyramid. Okay, yay, we finished. Okay. So, let's discuss what's happening over the next bit, okay? We are going to take a couple of streams off of reading because we are going to be doing collaborative storytelling. We've done this in the past. It's been a while, but you guys wrote an amazing story together. So I will be giving you guys the prompts. You guys will be filling in the gaps, and then I will take it. I will write it into a story, and then we will have another story that we wrote collectively. We will be using those cards again. Yes. So, and I'm trying to decide, it might just be only on Twitch. I could potentially stream it to this channel, but it is slightly different content. But I'm gonna try to get some things to upload to this channel. So if I'm not streaming, there will be some new uploads. But I will be... Okay, so that's... I mean, that might just be Sunday. Do you think we can do it in one session? Let's plan that for Sunday. And if we pick it up, if we have to stretch it to more than one session, it might not be 2 streams back to back, actually. So really, I'm just talking about taking Sunday off. Now, Tuesday is September 1st. It's the beginning of our Beantober event. It's also the beginning of spooky season. So actually Tuesday, we might read something a little spooky. Can we do it one session, Dow? Yeah. Last time I had planned to do it in one session. It ended up taking 3. And because of that, normally I would plan to just like, okay, let's take like a couple sessions in a row and, but with 2 streams from now is going to be the start of our event. Like, it's just, let's do that on Sunday. If we need to do another one, we'll do it either the following Thursday or a week later on the following Sunday, right? Like, we'll make it happen. It won't be a long break between them. This could really go off the rails. It was great. You guys wrote an amazing story last time. So, we're gonna do it again. That's so great, Artax. The collaboration story is a sequel. It could be a sequel. I need to find my reading of it. and clip it for you guys, so people that missed it, or just to refresh your memories of what the story was. It's not on YouTube right now, but I do have it on a hard drive. So it might be a neat video to have in the bucket. It might be, yeah. I don't know. Does that seem like something that I would want, like, for the actual process of writing it? Do you think it makes sense to do that live on this YouTube channel? Or would that, like, screw up the algo too much? Sorry, I asked 2 questions there, so I don't know which one your no is referring to. Not good. Upload the story you read after. Okay, so don't stream the process, you're thinking? Writing on YouTube is a bad idea. I want to know your reasoning behind. I'm not doubting you, I'm just want to know your reason. Oh, c'est d'accord, étrange. I don't know if the VOD would mess up the algo. Yeah, I think we will. So probably there will be no stream on this channel on Sunday, but if you would like to join us to public, I mean, we're doing it on a live stream either way, but if you'd like to join us and do some collaborative storytelling, that will be going on over on my Twitch channel, so make sure that you're following over there. Yeah, and yeah, there's a chance I might stream it here, but I haven't decided yet. I could always stream it and then we could unpublish the VOD. I don't know. Anyway, but I put the reading after you compile the story onto the tubes. Yeah. So, but yeah, I've got some ideas for things to read. We might start with just like some short stories or something. I do have a novel picked out for this spooky season, and then we're gonna be I'd like to read some more short fiction and all that. So, okay, yay! We finished. How exciting! I'm also going to try to get some past spooky Susan spooky season readings from past years uploaded onto this channel. Okay, now I want Spooky Susan to be a character. But yes, now we are going to be wrapping up this YouTube stream, but stream overall is not over. So if you are watching on YouTube and you would like to continue hanging out while we do some traditional ASMR, which remains pretty chatty, but also there are traditional triggers and such, then basically stream will be ongoing over on Twitch. And then I have another YouTube channel, which is for the ASMR triggers, and I will be going live on that channel within 10 minutes. So if you prefer to stay on YouTube and would like to hang out a little bit more tonight, make sure you are subbed to the other YouTube channel. If we could get that link popped in the YouTube chat for the other YouTube channel. Thank you, Lemon Slut. Thank you so much. Yes, that would be awesome. So we're going to wrap up the YouTube stream. If you're on Twitch, don't go anywhere. Reminder again, if you've enjoyed this, or if you are watching on Twitch and you just want to support me, if you have not subbed to this channel, to either of my YouTube channels, please, because we are working on these goals. We want to hit these metrics before February, okay? And the subs is the one I'm like actually more worried about, so if you could drop a sub, that would be pretty incredible. Okay. All right. I will be back at least on Tuesday. Okay. Good night, YouTube. Good night, good night, good night.